Hello viewers, Kubiando Kith and Kin, I'm SB and welcome back to Roadwarden, where it is late in the evening. We're just checking out this little religious settlement before we probably head back to Howler's Dell. I remember the name. Who says I don't remember names? Before we head back to Howler's Dell for the night, because we have a lot of business to do there as well. So we've just rung the bell at the gate effectively. Little by little, the bridge gets looser, then it hits the grass gently. The taller figure, now covered with shadows, invites you with a gesture. Greetings, and greetings to ye, he hesitates. His voice is hoarse, but sonorous. Salutations to thou, traveler. He puts his bandaged hand on his waist. You are at Wright's Haven. The greeters take off their hoods. They wear brown, dark, simple, worn robes, and ropes instead of belts. They've no jewelry or ornaments, just small bags made of fabric on their shoulders. The larger shell belongs to a strong, barefoot man in his 50s. Despite having no weapon, his eyes are audacious, and could belong to a mussel standing in the door of a harbor tavern. His wrinkles are subtle, but there are only a few tufts of gray hair left on his greasy head. His skin is pale, covered with liver spots, though at a closer look you realize a few of them are just stains left by ink. And this second monk... The girl is about 14, with unsightly acne on her forehead and a robe that brushes the ground whenever she takes a step. Her black hair is tied into a humble ponytail. She observes your horse curiously, cocking her head to a side, but once she catches your look, she meets your eyes boldly, raising her chin as if to challenge you. Thy mount is free to help itself with hay and water. We'll wait outside. Thou canst stay here for now, but leave before the night. The plague is nearby, the struggle ahead. While they indeed leave the room, their trust only goes so far. They observe you through the open door. The building is a single storeroom, filled with crates and barrels, a stack of firewood and another one of bricks, a pile of straw, a chest, 2 wheelbarrows, and finally the racks, shelves, tools, clothing, and utensils. I will tell you what, I really enjoy a lot of the writing in this game, but also a lot of the writing in this game loves long lists of nouns. The light comes from the open gates, accompanied by the sharp draft. Why do they feel they need to leave me alone? We'll wait outside. I tether Agro near the water trough and join the monks. It's not that they're like giving me privacy. It's that they're just like, hey, come out here when you're done. But I don't know, the way it's worded, it almost seems like they're like doing me a favor. But I guess that's more in the neutral text than it is in the dialogue. The lack of walls makes you feel exposed. A few pairs of eyes observe you from the paths above, while others either climb to the very top or approach the unremarkable vegetable beds. Most of the dwellers wear hoods, and all of them wear similar worn robes. A chilling wind touches your neck. I'm gonna put up my hood. Well, if I put up my hood... I guess putting up my hood is kind of mirroring. It's probably worth doing. My only concern here is that it might make it a little bit easier... might make it a little easier for me to notice things. Sort of abbreviates your peripheral vision. They keep their distance. The man greets you by raising his open palm, wrapped with bandages that disappear under his sleeve. His lips form something between a sneer and a smile. What brings thee here? Art thou a go-between? The girl keeps an eye on your axe and occasionally glances at your boot, the one that hides a knife. So they have a consciously archaic dialect, right? That's what we're supposed to take from what the girl said. I guess it's like sort of analogous to Church Latin. Did anybody else mention this place? I'm trying to think back. My memory is not the greatest. We've heard a lot of people talk a lot about the settlements in this area, but I'm not sure. If somebody mentioned Wright's Haven, it certainly wasn't very many people. I'm Samhain, the new Roadwarden. Good, well, the roads need their wardens, the folks need their roads. But there are none behind this mountain, and we take care of the one you've just crossed. Thou dost not need to bother. Thy services are not required. He gestures for you to wait. So wait, no, this is his dialogue. So he's also unsure, like he's having to fix himself while he's speaking. He gestures for you to wait. But where's the man with the red beard? There isn't enough work here for the two of you. Yeah, Asterion. I was hoping to find him here. It's interesting that I can like direct the conversation away from that if I don't want to reveal to him what the deal is with Asterion, if I wanted to try to play dumb for a little while. Does that make sense? Is that a thing that we would want to do in this situation? I'm going to say no. Let's focus in on Asterion. That's actually one of my more pressing concerns. Although, I guess we know where we think Asterion went, and it's not like he's here. These people probably don't know more than I do. Let me try pressing this way. Have you seen the roads here? They're messy enough for 10 more. Ha! That may very well be. It's been many years since I touched the paths beyond these mountains. Few northerners care about Wright's teachings, the real wisdom. Their deeds and gossip will soon not matter. This is the place of eternal tales, of stories that shape us all, not of little lives and simple words. The girl scratches the ground with her boot, though it remains hidden underneath her robe. The man looks at her with amusement. Looks like Decima here is eager to return to her duties. I'm Ailey, but I'll not shake thy hand. One of us could carry the plague in our flesh. Who can know? Who can tell? What brings thee to our monastery? Is there just nothing you can do about the plague that has beset old Pagos? Well, his cough doesn't help his hoarse throat. We don't understand what makes it grow. We put to use all the ingredients we found, brewed as many potions and balms as we could, and they worked for one afternoon. Then people once again fell ill. Who can tell where the sickness dwells? A powerful healer could get rid of it once and for all with a single spell, but no follower of the Wright in the north carries such talents. I'll seek a great healer then? Like, I don't know if entering the village and looking for the source is a sensible thing to do. I'll seek a great healer then. He rubs his hands together, pressing a thumb against his palm and looking at the sky. Such as the druids, the necromancers, the golem maker, dangerous souls with no reason to help us. The golem maker? That's new, right? Let's ask him if he knows anything about this spirit rock plan. I wouldn't bite into aught touched by that witch. He hides his bandaged hand behind his back. Why does the father think it may work? You portray the situation as accurately as you can. Ailey gets closer to the cliff, observing the river beneath it, and spending a good few minutes considering the situation. Suddenly, he turns toward you with wide-open eyes, making his companion stagger. He's lying to thee, he announces with a great dose of enthusiasm. He seeks no cure for the lack of pneuma, but rather for the lack of soul itself. Before Adir's calling to greatness, the tribes of the Dragonwood saw the spellless children as empty shells, throwing them to beasts just as often as they did with the crippled and the short-witted. There's this tale. He glances at you. Thou wouldn't remember it anyway, but the tablets carry no doubt. Tribes shan't hurt those touched with this condition, as there's no such stuff as soulless children. Huh. So wait, he doesn't think... He doesn't think the child's soulless. He thinks the father thinks the child's soulless, or is afraid that the child's soulless. The father does seem... What's the word I want here? Pressed about the whole thing. And maybe that comes from fear. I don't know. We do have an awful lot of things to talk about. I'm looking for a few hunters from Creeks. Were they here? Hunters from Creeks? He mimics your voice with a hint of mockery. Not a soul from there has reached this temple in... He rubs the back of his bandaged hand and looks at a monk who's carrying buckets of water. Well, a decade? They've got enough hunting grounds. The heart of the woods, the watchtower, the northern hills. Interesting you should mention that as though it's a place that a person could hunt. Do you know anything interesting about the path leading through the heart of the woods? I used to, but like all places that belong to beasts, it shifts every year. The only reason why it still has trails at all is that creatures use our roads as their own game trails. Only a dimwit would try to cross it now. After you ask him if he's heard of it, if he knows any such person, he takes a deep breath. Well, last I've heard, Quintus, the gatekeeper from Old Pagos, is missing or dead. He's a brute and an idiot, can't understand jokes, can't stand weaklings. If thou, ever meet him, just smile and let him speak as much as he needs to shut up. Okay, interesting. Y'all need any help around here? Work is, no, okay, just no. He puts his hands together and repeatedly taps his fingers. After a few breaths, he straightens up and says no. What a strange guy. Like, even if that's a lie, which is, I'm assuming what we're supposed to get from it is, like, he's considering whether to ask me about something. But it's such a weird way of expressing it. I'm trying to learn more about the local bandits. Then ask in the villages. He looks at the wooden entrance hall behind you. No group is going to bother us, for they've got no understanding of our pneuma and potions. Yeah, fair enough. I have some questions about this monastery, actually. And what could those be? Does this place have a name, or is it just the monastery? Depends on who thou askest. It's the largest temple on this side of Hag Hills, and the only one besides the sacred cave in Gale Rocks. He points at the huge hourglass. Is it Wright's summit, or the Temple of Old Pagos? Or high caves, like they used to be for my Nana? He rests his thumbs behind the rope on his waist. The tribes come and go, the names shift. For now, we all know what we mean by the monastery. Yeah, okay, what can you tell me about your order? How does one describe the air they swallow, the water they draw each day? I think we've made a mistake by asking this question. His contemptuous yet playful smile makes it clear he doesn't seek your answer. He doesn't really seem interested in hearing anyone but himself talk. I can tell thee it's not old, but older than thou, and that its monks work and pray. But it's not a place, nor a congregation. Words don't reflect our purpose, for human tongue is meager and stupid, and so are our ears. He straightens up and puts on a more serious tone. We look for knowledge, knowing we'll not uncover the truth. We study herbs, mushrooms, rocks, and winds. Old Pagos feeds us, and we take care of its orphans. He glances at Decima. Heal its sick, write down its stories. We silence our thoughts, fix our past wrongdoings, and seek peace and understanding. I've seen and touched stuff I can't even name, and they were delightful. I now find no difference between what I do to keep my shell alive and what to fulfill the Wright's will. An old woman without her hood who leans forward while walking exits one of the caves and walks along the rock face, from time to time stopping in place to watch the garden. The scars on her face can't distort her kind smile. Okay, I sort of meant like, tell me about your faith, though. He takes a deep breath, puts on the hood, and closes his eyes. His voice, while still hoarse, becomes monotone, like a scribe reading a list of the dead. The Wright is the greatest of souls, the wall of light that protects mankind, humankind, the life after death. Those who follow their teachings will abandon their shells. To follow means to guard Wright's tribe and help it grow in strength and peace. To achieve this goal, one needs to learn and accept the creation and its nature. This allows us to shape matter, souls, and pneuma without turning them against us. To be a monk means to find freedom in Wright's tablets, to abandon one's ambitions. I serve Wright's will, I let it build my salvation. I prepare the tribes for their end. He takes off the hood again. For the first time, you see true gentleness in his eyes. May these words be carried with my blood. So be it. I am not going to feign belief, because first of all, I think he would be able to tell. And secondly, even if he's not able to tell now, if he finds out later, like, there's no way this guy is going to appreciate me faking it, right? He's going to see that as mockery, I'm sure. He rubs a large liver spot on his bare hand, piercing you with his gaze. So, do you have a leader of sorts? He crosses his arms and takes a look at the cave mouth behind him, then gives you a harsh look. If our prelate was willing to see thee, they'd let thee know. Yeah, I'm willing to prove I'm trustworthy. It's interesting that both of these are like trying to bargain for the ability to see the prelate, because I don't particularly feel the need to do that, personally. Clearly our character does. I'm willing to prove that I'm trustworthy. I don't need to jump to the front of the line here. We'll see. Maybe. How does one become a monk here? He lets out an amused grunt and clasps his hands together. When one needs to join an order, they find a way. It's not aught thou wantest, but a stuff that happens to thee. Okay, that's super clear. Give me an example, though. Oh, I don't know. Abandonest thy past, throw thy pet down the cliff and pray. You don't find even a hint of playfulness in his voice. After a longer pause, he carries on. What else do you know about the peninsula, just sort of as a whole? No, he sighs. The order protects what it knows, and we seek no wealth. You remind him of your trade, and he responds with annoyance. Knowledge builds and destroys the cities. We, he points at two monks who are seeking snails among the garden patches, are responsible for what we bring from our journey. A blacksmith isn't judged by the depths of their swords, but they oughtn't sell them to scoundrels. Okay, dude, I use what I learned to protect other people. And thou thinkest our books and studies are going to help thee? Just keep thy shell healthy, take care of thy pet, listen to elders. Okay, super not helpful. What do you know about the necromancers in the north? He rubs the liver spots on his forehead with his bandaged hand, looking with one eye at his short companion. This and that. What's your stance on necromancy in general? He pull his fingers, gathering his thoughts. My stance? I don't need one. I trust the Wright. The dead makers must be weeded out. Their power brings only fogs. One may think the spellcaster is in control of the shells, but once they lose their breath, the dead are freed, searching for blood. Humans will never control the dead. So then, how does one deal with the undead? Or necromancers, for that matter? Well. Is it a single corpse? A squad? An army? Thou needest to learn how shrewd the enemy is. Can it sense thy presence? Can it use a bow or spells? As long as thou art art alone, it's always better to run. The older empty ones, even more so those that weren't awoken by the fogs, get cunning, human-like, but with cruelty thou hast never seen. I mean, no, you said human-like already. I heard I can find them in the northwest? He nods. Head back to the crossroads, then north, then right into the bogs. There you'll find white marshes. The tribe used to forage and gather peat, but now it follows Arrentius, their priest. Who knows, maybe he's the reason why so many travelers have disappeared on the roads. Decima scratches the ground with her boot, humming a tune, but Ailey tells her to shut up. He carries on with sudden anger. This story is as old as the Wright's tablets. Tribes look at monsters and ask themselves, how can we use them? Their pride pushes them into their own fall. They hurt the innocent, then vanish in flames, or awake as empty ones. Okay, I feel maybe a little silly answering this, or asking this, given how you have answered every question so far, but any thoughts on Arrentius? He's never been here. He's locked in that hut, a prisoner of his own conscience, speaking to his tribe as to children. Could there be a darker joke? A necromancer who calls himself a prophet. As he snorts, Decima puts on a wide grin. What next, an emperor bathing in blood? No follower of the Wright could survive such a fall. Well, what was White Marshes like before the priest's arrival? Far from lovely. His smirk softens as his eyes grow worried. It's been struggling for years. With food, children, the beasts of the bogs, the traders. They were strangers to us even in the old days, when they used to join old Pagos in their pagan feasts. He looks at Decima, who listens to his tale curiously. But then the monks arrived, and that bridge went down with flames. When the missionaries reached the bogs during the years of war, there were already some wounds that could never be sealed, not even by a shared prayer. Okay. You're just super helpful. What can you tell me about Asterion? Let me think. He looks at the sky and clenches his fist around the strap of his bag. The first time he was here, we asked him to find us some iron in Gale Rocks. The second time, he did bring us a few scraps, but was wounded. A piece of flesh bitten away from his thigh said that a 100-legged worm had caught him off guard in a meadow. Instead of his pay, we offered him a potion. Okay, was there anything noteworthy about the iron he delivered? Scavenged from furniture. A few of them were rusty. Who knows where he bought them? We melted them for nails. Why don't you tell me about Gale Rocks? He hesitates, but finally nods. Just some seaweed eaters. Their soil is barren, but the strongest of them spend their days on the boats, among the sharp rocks. Those who can't hunt for fish boil water to make salt. They trade with other villages, more than anyone in the peninsula, for crops, wood, and meat. He snorts. But they're weak folk, weak and angry, like a wolf beaten and kicked from a pup. Loud, ready to bite, but all it takes is for someone to raise their hand and then it jumps away and whimpers. He lets go of his bag. At least they follow Wright's teachings. Yeah, I wouldn't want to spend a night here anyway, so I'm not even going to bother asking this. But, y'all got anything to barter? Not today. Not before the spring. Our order uses every bottle we make to help the sick from Old Pagos, as well as to protect ourselves. I could bring you dragon bones, or something that doesn't grow in the mountains. He looks at the steel hourglass hanging from the wall. Taste, softness, tools of murder. We shall crave naught. One thing we lack are delicacies we could offer to the sick and weak, but thou wilt not find such a thing in this sad land. Well, I also dabble in alchemy a bit. Could I use your tools to brew? Curious. He puts a bandaged finger on his chin. Back in the day, the Order would lend thee its workshop in exchange for thy recipes, but now... He rubs his skin, observing Decima. She shakes her head gently. That was before the war. If aught breaks under thy touch, we would struggle to replace it. No amount of coins may buy us a trader with glass files and bronze or golden tools. Rather, thou must follow the road north, around the lake until you reach Foggy Lake, a tavern. Foggy makes hard drinks and ciders, and shall have the simpler tools. There was also that one old druidess in Howlers, but she's likely already dead. Huh. Still, I know a recipe for the blinding powder that requires a basalt rock crushed on the top of a mountain. Could I get to those trees high up just for a few minutes? There's a new gleam in his eye. I'd adore learning this recipe, for we use basalt knives often, but our prelate won't agree for thy stroll. He looks toward the tiny orchard. The pride makes his voice stronger. We need to be sure thou, art a friend of the Order, not a threat. A gentle cough. We can't let you run into the caves, thou seest. Yeah, alright. Well, I suppose that's a thing worth pursuing. How would I become a friend of the Order if they're not willing to give me a task? I don't know. I'm going to bail. The muddy roads will slow us down. Sorry, how long do we have? 3 hours and 30 minutes before dusk? It'll only take 2 hours to get back to Howler's Dell. So... we could scout east at these crossroads just a little bit and then turn around. We're covering some significant portion of the distance back to the Dell anyway with that movement, so I think that should be fine. The corridor of leaves and gray rocks leads you to a gate, large enough for a wagon, held together by a wooden bar. The planks and rocks are covered with claw marks left by various monsters, but they weren't able to damage the wall as much as the passage of time and the piercing rains. A large man covered in shadows is observing you from the roofed tower. His voice is hoarse and distrustful. You lost? I don't know your mug. Yeah, is this playful? This is just kind of shitty. He's distrustful. Me being friendly, I don't know if me being friendly is going to be... It could be the kind of he's the kind of person where me being friendly makes him feel at ease. It could be that it makes him feel like he needs to keep an eye on me. I'm actually going to go distanced here. I'm Samhain, the new Roadwarden, and you're the gatekeeper, I assume? Well, yeah, just on duty, and armed, so you know. He lifts a loaded crossbow and sticks it out of the shadows. But I'm no enemy of yours. He leaves the tower. He's wearing a black gambeson so ragged it can't be fastened anymore. It tells a story of claws, thorns, and improvised repairs. The hole in the man's hemp pants reveals a scraped knee. It's hard to tell his age through his exhausted, sleepy eyes. A short, unkempt beard and a bandage horizontally covering his ears and the spot that used to be his nose. There's clotted blood in his brown hair and mud on his clothes and brown neck. Despite all this, he's of a huge shell with wide shoulders and thick legs. He straightens up. So, a warden. You new to the job? New here, but I know what I'm doing. No pass would prepare you for this shit place. Nights are all ape piss and blood. Just before sunrise, a bird tried to pluck my eye. This gate here, he kicks a brick with his heel. It's older than me. All there, he points behind him with his weapon. Wilds and beasts. My tribe built this place to keep them away from us, and us from them. He scratches the bandage on his cheek. Name's Quintus from Old Pagos. You been there? Yeah, I have. They won't let you in? So you know. We used to send one soul here every morning and escort them back before nightfall. But some days ago, no one came for me. I spent a night here, sneaking wolf shits almost got me. He picks up an almost empty water skin from behind a parapet and takes a sip. I went home by myself, only to learn about the sick. Been here ever since. Well, shouldn't you look for a real shelter? He trembles and his eyes widen. Someone has got to stay at the gate. The villages in the east don't know about the illness. They may try crossing the woods, hit the closed gate while fleeing some wolves and stuff. He rubs his dirty neck. And also, I can't leave the gate open. It's like a dam for monsters. If all I can do is choose the way I die, this is it, with my duty fulfilled. Frankly, I'm surprised you've survived this long. Well, you could call it surviving. I call it potions. His chuckle makes him wince in pain. He puts a hand on his stomach and leans away. Beasts took me for easy prey, but the good monks from the mountains equipped our guards well. They're helping our ill, but used to brew all sorts of stuff. His hand moves to an earthenware bottle by his belt. Well, you could at least spend the nighttime in one of the villages. He adjusts his jacket by shaking his shoulders, making the buckles jingle. No, I'm not a beggar, and the villages in the north won't help me for more than a day or two. I've got no dragon bones, just this little ibex. He pats his crossbow. Old Pagos is by itself. We don't look for kind folks. He thinks for a moment. I'll just wait. I'll get back home once the plague's done, or before winter. He may be a bit too proud, but he does know more about the locals than I do. He glances at Agro. You understand, I'm sure. Wardens are souls of duty. Yeah, what do you actually know about the plague? Not much. It kills. That's all there is to know. My tribe's smart locking the gate. The Wright gave them strength. Okay, about this gate. Here, see? He points at the long twisted rope that hangs from an iron hook. I could climb down and remove the beam on the other side. You'll take down yours. You need at least 3 hours to get through the woods. He touches his stomach and takes a deep breath. But I need you to give me aught first. Sorry, what do you want? I'm hungry. Bring me some rations, maybe. Dried meat, apples, nuts. Maybe, he sizes you up, 6 meals. Then I'll help you with the gate. Well, don't you have time to hunt? Time? But I've got to stay near the gate. I can't keep people waiting while I track deer. He touches the bandage on his face. And if I die, there'll be no keeper left. Yeah. Look, we can try to talk him around it, but, like, he's already told us what he wants. Sure. Yeah, I'll bring you some food. I'll figure that out. Thanks. His smile may be disfigured by his wounds, but is as warm as his voice. I'll take any help I can get. Alright, so I don't have the food on me right now, but we can solve that relatively quickly, hopefully. I'm looking for Asterion. That's nice. He hasn't been by here in many days. You sure he's not dead? After you admit that he very much may be, he puts a hand on his waist. Well, better get ready to slit open every dragon belly in the wilds. Did he often travel through the woods? Sure, though on a different mount. He had a saurian, 4 ibexes long, 2 ibexes tall. It moves on 4 legs and jumps high and far, dark green like rotting leaves. At one time I was taking a piss in the shrubs, and Asterion made the beast run up the rock face, and it jumped on that. He points at the hill. And like they ran above the wall and landed on the other side, just like that. He snaps his fingers. His voice and eyes gain new vigor. So you say his saurian was large and green. Well, I mean, not everywhere. He points at his eyebrows. He has red scales here and on the tail and the shoulders, I guess? I don't know what to call it. You ask him for a bit about Asterion, but he has little to add. There used to be 6 of us, keepers. I saw him every now and then. Not that often. Okay. So time is advancing while we're having this conversation. How long does it take me to get back to Hallersdale? Alright. We can do a little bit more chatting here. Some time ago, a few people from Creeks left their home to hunt. Have you met any of them? I know not about people, but I met Vashel. It takes him a few breaths to notice you're waiting for him to go on. They spent a night at the tower with me. Came from there, he points at the woods to the east, and then went back there. They were building a trap, somewhere behind the lake. They shared a partridge with me, but never came here again. Good soul, very open-eyed. Okay, interesting. What could you tell me about the road behind the gate? Oh, not much. His chuckle turns into a cough. It leads through lowlands, mostly wood and some ponds. It's dark and lethal. He mentions tales of ghosts, dragons, fogs, and blood mages, but whenever you ask about any creature in particular, his response is vague and brief. The tribes abandoned this path. Ever since the war, the trade has been slow. People refuse to patrol it. The plants are getting taller, but for at least a few more seasons, it's still a shortcut. It's good that you have a mount. If aught chases you, always stay close to the paths and ride as fast as you can. So, okay, if no one uses this road, why are you even here? He scowls at you. Not no one. It's where people hunt for monsters, and every few days I have to open it for reasons. We have a little bit more time. I've heard about some bandits. Were they bothering you? He scratches the bandage on his cheek. I only know there's one band somewhere. Not around. Never saw them. Why are you afraid of Glossia? He straightens up and gives you a long look. I don't know who you're talking about. Okay. We'll figure this out. We'll bring him the food and then try to push on that more. Because we definitely do need to get this gate open, right? Hey, what's it like to live in Old Pagos? He opens his mouth, giving you a puzzled look, then lets out a weak chuckle. What am I to say? We've got rocks. He taps the wall. And make houses, bowls, tools. We sell them, too. We grow oats and broad beans. Ibexes give us wool and skins for monks. What do you call it? The one you write on? He moves on when you mention parchment. Yeah. It's a good place. Beautiful, old. Hill. That's what Pagos means. Old hill. When you bring up the monastery, his eyes get brighter. Oh, good people. They came here on a mission, teaching us Wright's book. My grandparents were pagans, you know. But we now follow the river of truth. We keep to ourselves, but help others when they need us. Okay. I guess I'll be back, tomorrow, probably? Hopefully with enough food. I don't think we're going to be able to get enough food quickly enough. You ride through the open gate. Some of the locals greet you politely. After you notice your own smell and the dirt on your clothes, you no longer wonder why they keep their distance. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe we should conduct any other business we have in the morning then? I go to the main square. It's getting dark and the inn is loud and crowded. The innkeeper lights up the rushlights, the workers drink, the guards are preparing for the night watch. If it wasn't for the presence of the creek and the uncanny lack of beggars, this place would feel like Hovlavon's marketplace. One of the tables is occupied by a dozen or so kids. None of them looks older than 12, and the youngest one, too dirty to resemble either a boy or a girl, is about 6. They're surrounded by their playthings, a mouflon on wheels, an elegant wooden sword, and a painted board covered with rocks, but they are bored and tired. Even though you only get a glimpse of them, the oldest girl notices your attention. She springs up to her feet and approaches you with a few skips. She's already pretty tall, dressed in a worn, subdued tunic, so long that it looks like a sack. It would be rude to ignore her. There's a reason for me to be rude to these children. I smile and ask what she needs. She puts her hands together and puts on a grimace of playful misery. Master Roadwarden, hearing such an antiquated salutation makes it difficult for you to hide your smirk. We here, she points at her group, bored. Oh, so bored. She puts the back of her hand on her forehead, letting out a deep sigh. Please, master, tell us a story or two, for each traveler sees with different eyes. The last few words sound like an echo of an old tale, or like she's fey, or something's going on here. I do not love this. You know what? Sure. Make room for me at the table. We get along with kids, right? I don't want to play a character who doesn't get along with kids. The children gather round and ask you for a minute for them to gather their friends and siblings. After a bit of chaos, there's 20 young souls sitting close to one another, on benches, stools, and on the ground. The red-haired twins brought a blanket to lay down on. You have a shorter side of the table all to yourself. The older kids understand your lost look in an instant. They start to hush each other, which causes an even greater amount of noise, but in the end, there are dozens of eyes staring at you with a mixture of boredom and anticipation. Alright, what about my knowledge? I've read quite a few stories during my studies. I do know a rather unique fairy tale. It's short and sweet, though at one point it gets a bit cruel. The youngest kid covers their eyes, which doesn't block their hearing in any way, in fact. As you get to the end, the tension disappears. The older kids clap for a bit, keeping their dignity intact, while the younger ones start to laugh and argue loudly about the best part of your tale. 2 girls start to wrestle, pretending to be characters that you just portrayed. Seeing this, the adults decide to intervene. You stand up and the children do the same to show their respect. The girl that had previously talked with you thanks you for your time. Oh, yeah, it was my pleasure. And so here we are in front of the 8 Bale Inn. I'm going to talk to the mayor tomorrow. Right, because I have enough money to sleep. Yeah, I have enough money for a room. And I could really use the refresh that a sleep here would get me. Yeah, that's very, very helpful. A comfy bed, a locked door, a large breakfast, a wash tub with water and soap. I know I've spent a lot of money staying here at this point, but it always feels worth it. It's a calm, warm night. As your first sleep ends, you stretch out and prepare yourself for an active hour or two. It's time to take care of some things that must be done at least once every few days, though they are a bit more challenging than your nightly routine. It's time to check on my herbs and other ingredients. I get rid of the plants that have failed to dry out, throw away anything that's rotten, and wash my jars before I fill them up again. Okay, yeah, that's important maintenance stuff. You spend the night in peace, in a clean bed with a tightly shut window and a warm blanket. In the morning, you find a stool placed by your bed. Yeah, we know this text. The innkeeper is sitting near the door, from time to time carrying out another bowl. This is nowhere to be seen. I ask a guard to look for the mayor. I do need to talk to her, because she wanted us to check out the other settlements, and I think we went to all of the ones she needed, right? Dace wants me to spy for her. Okay, I was kind of hoping that this would have more detail. It was that she just wanted me to go check out what was going on, right? I don't know. I guess we'll ask a guard to look for her and we'll see. The guard informs you that the mayor is currently busy, but she'll mention to her that you're waiting. You sit down on a bench and wait for a good few minutes. When Thais joins you, she smiles and apologizes for the wait. It's always good to see you, Samhain. How can I help you? Well, this was not enough information about the raids in the north. I guess I didn't ask Whitemarsh. I bring sad news from Old Pagos. The villagers were stricken by a plague. For a few breaths, she doesn't even blink. So close to us, a plague. How? She adjusts her cape and calls a guard with a gesture. Tell the others to gather by 8 bale, she tells her, and then looks back into your eyes. I'll pass them the news once we're done here. We have to, I assume, close the gates, maybe keep strangers away. She starts to tap on her deer buckle. At least we can make some preparations, thanks to you. Good wardening, she says with a little conviction. But you should also speak with our druids. They may have more questions for you. The guard returns and the mayor sends her away again. Warn Elpis. She must speak with Samhain soon. Okay, then aside from that, I guess I have no critical news. I thought I had asked enough people about the raids, but I guess I was probably supposed to go to Whitemarsh's as well. Alright, do you need my assistance in any other way? She sighs with relief and gestures for you to follow her to the creek. The light dances on its surface, and you can't miss the fact that its humming conveniently camouflages the mayor's voice. I've a perfect task for someone of your trade. Behind our northern gate, you'll find a road. It leads to a coastal beach that used to be occupied by our fishers. Hit by a cold gust of wind, she adjusts her cape, covering her neck. That hamlet allowed us to watch the sea, and every 10 days we had as many fish and crabs as we desired, without the grace of the villages in the north. She looks into your eyes. However, an earthquake led to a rock slide and has made the road impassable. We weren't ready to clear it, and now, almost a decade later, the route is too unknown for us to risk long journeys. She raises her arm, trying to place it around your shoulders, and I'm gonna allow her to do this. Her gentle hand is as light as a leaf. The druids have convinced my people to accept the way it is, the will of the wilderness. She smells of roses. But enough time has passed. The roads go desolate, and we need to put our trust in ourselves. Help me clear the pass, and my neighbors will follow us. If not because of their ideals, then because of their stomachs. As she steps away, her fingers stroke your neck gently. Okay, just get a little personal. The more time we spend on the road, the more monsters will hunt us. With your palfrey, you can save us from danger. Help me retrieve the hamlet, and you'll prove to me that you're a friend of Howler's Dell. Start by riding to the buried pass. See if there's any lairs there that would need our interference. You're asking a lot for a scrap of parchment. Oh, but there will be coin, of course. Laughing, she returns to her chair. 5 for helping us clear the pass, 5 for letting me know what you've learned about the hamlet. Another 3 if you have to fight in any of these places. For a day or 2 of work, that's more than fair. Okay, I have already been to the Collapsed Mountain Pass, doing my job and everything. She rests her chin on the back of her hand and listens patiently to your story, and taps on the table once you mention the buried rags. None of us were there on the day of the earthquake, and whatever corpses may be there, they've surely been awoken by the fogs by now. She straightens up. Still, it's better than a wyvern or a lair of harpies. The plan stays the same. You'll take 20 diggers and guards and escort them to the rock slide. Your job is to keep them alive and well. She looks at the sky. They may take many hours, maybe even an entire day, so you should start in the morning. You'll get the first share of your payment once you clear the pass. Okay, I'll be right back with you. I want to talk to Timo first, but I think we should just do this today. Leave the square, return to Timo. She's at the creek, but takes a break to speak with you, apologizing for her crude appearance. She gasps for air with her hands on her knees, but looks you directly in the eyes, and I let her know what's up with Paulus from Gale Rocks. Sounds like a worker, but make sure he will not oppose the marriage rites. His village follows the rite. I need his word he'll leave his spirit behind him. If he agrees, her teeth are yellowish but healthy, he can come and fall. We'll see how we get along. Okay, that's something. Let's talk to the druid really quickly as well. This time, the tall druid gives you an encouraging nod. Even though he remains on a bench, he's huge. He would do well as a guard at a city alehouse. I walk farther south to the spot where the new building is being built. You approach the building site. The stone foundations are finished, and the timber frame is jointed together with a set of intriguing cuts like a large toy. One day their walls will be whitewashed with limestone and turned into a prestigious shelter, unlike the houses made of logs and boards. The other buildings are surrounded by grass, flowers, and herbs. The turmoil of village life is drowned out by the sound of the creek, but the knocking of a hammer shatters this tranquility. The builders give you curious looks from above the log they're cutting. Okay, well, I'm on my way to do a thing here. I'm busy. Walk past them and to the druids. You're welcomed by 8 elders gathered in a semicircle, watching your steps closely. They're not as large as the workers, and their clothes are far from humble. Instead of hemp pants or tunics, they wear colorful robes and dresses made of wool. They vary in style, length, and embellishment, separating them from the outfits of monks. You spot belts and cords, sandals, and closed shoes. One person is bald. One has silver hair long enough to cover her back like a cape. Most of the druids are clean and rested, though one is a bit of a sloven, with uncombed hair, stained clothes, and dusty feet. Also, unlike priests of Havlavan, their hands are marked by scars, hard skin, old burns, and missing fingers. Still in silence, a woman with a staff steps forward. I take a closer look at her. Her gray robe is decorated with a brown thread that portrays leaves, tree branches, and birds. She's over 50, but the youngest one of them all. Her back is straight, the gray hair only an inch long. She doesn't need a walking stick. Her weapon is smooth, longer than she is tall. Her blue eyes are vigilant and keenly observe your face, as if in search of venom in your nose and lips. Her lips are thin and small, formed into an austere line that shakes slightly, as if she's on the brink of a burst of anger. She says nothing. Okay, well, this does not feel like a time to be jovial. I assume you know who I am. She closes her eyes and tilts her head to the left. You listen to the creak, the hammer, and your own breath. I do not know who you are, she finally answers, nor why you are. Every muscle in my shell makes me beware of a wolf. But my village believes you defend roads. She pauses and looks at your clothes and equipment. Even though your ancestors were here for centuries, some still think they need paths, travelers, dragon rings. Your presence here is a new log for the flame of lies. Okay, all right. For a moment, her eyes seem shinier, brighter, but also very hostile. You are and will be an outsider. We'll listen, but you'll need change us. Her words are slow and soft, as if she's tasting them. Yeah, okay. Why do you speak for the entire group? She steps away, tilting her staff toward the other druids, who look at you gently. There's no master among us. I've answers for our neighbors, and I know how to guide them, that's all. For now, I'm trusted, but I'm no above anyone else, and I take upon myself the burdens of daily life from the shoulders of the elders. One day, my soul will get cloudier, or ever lost in madness, like my mother's before me. Then my lips will be sealed, and a better shell will take my place. You can't tell if her eyes show sadness or relief. Okay. Well, Deus thinks you should know about the plague that has fallen upon old Pagos. I don't want to, waste a bunch of their time. Let's get to the thing I'm here for, and then if they still want to talk, we'll talk more. You tell her what you've learned at the village gates, making her lean on her staff, touching it with her cheek. We cannot help with this tragedy. The people of old Pagos are now our friends, and we will not risk our lives for theirs. She turns toward the rest of her gathering. After their nods, she takes a deep breath. As she speaks, she looks at the ground. Travel south to the great healer who lives in a cave, beyond the beholder, the spirit that guides us through the swamps. Only he may find a way. I am going to do a good job of hiding my annoyance. I'm not going to try. I'm just going to thank them and say, all right, fine, I'll do that. The druids give you curious glances, but say nothing. My guess is he's not going to want to hear shit from me without that fish. Theus hopes to start negotiations with the Merchant Guild. What are your thoughts? She looks toward your axe and clamps her hand over her staff with new strength. We are no ones to tell our village how to act or how to think. If they decide to follow their mayor, we'll follow. She lowers her voice, and her gaze is like a storm. When a bear enters your house, you do not scream at it, nor hold the door for it to leave. You wait, or throw it a fish. But if it heads to the bed of your child, you jump on its back, if all you have are your teeth. For a single heartbeat, you see a red line in her eye. Okay, all right. Have you ever met Asterion? Nay. Seeing that you wait for a more detailed answer, she taps her fingers on her staff. We had no reason to talk with him. Okay, what's your stance on necromancy? She grabs her staff with both hands. The Awoken spit onto the order of things, on time and nature. When held by human spells, they only grow, waiting for the pneuma of corruption to cover their bones. Their will is simple and will never be forgotten. They will hunt for those we care for, and they will drink their blood. Her face hides any emotion. Her voice is monotonous, but her fingers are getting pale. The curse of necromancy does not enter our gathering. Tell me a little bit more about your faith. She tilts her head to the right and looks directly into your eyes. What do you want to know? Well, like Wright's followers have their tablets, how about you? For a moment, you think she's not sure how to answer, but you then realize that she's humming to herself silently. She raises her hand and gestures for you to look around. The world of our ancestors was never the same as the one we see. They had their truth. We have ours. Stories come from humans. The animals think nothing of them, yet prosper. Okay, I guess. I suppose that's an outlook. But what does it mean to be a druid? To be worthy of trust. Our elders have to trust that we'll master our shells under their guidance and use them to strengthen all of us. Our neighbors have to trust that we're worthy of their food, even if we do not work with our hands. The creatures need to trust that we deserve to enter their woods. She observes you for a bit, and her fingers tap on her staff. This trust would never be put in an outsider. I'd like to hear your teachings, even so. Give away what you can. Take only what you need. From your soul, from the soil, from the fellowship of humans. You'll leave behind only ashes. Accept it and grow in peace. She ends with a kind smile. If you think there's not much, you're right. If you think any soul has enough years to follow this path fully, your soul is already beset by thorns. This is interesting. I really love it when games do this. They give you two options that are the same text, but one of them is marked lie. So, do I think that this is similar to what my elders in my village taught me? Does this lead to me being an alchemist? Like, does it make sense if I learned this as a child that I would? I think so. You know, like, the pursuit of alchemical science is like a desire to understand the world more fully, to understand nature as it is more fully. Yeah, in my home, my elders taught us the same thing, and I believe they're right. Interesting. She raises her left hand and touches your cheek gently. At first, you feel the warmth of her skin, then you lose track of time, as if her blue eyes have thrown you into a deep lake. When you shake this feeling off, you feel refreshed. Thank you. She observes you with a modest, kind smile. How do you feel about other religions? We didn't have to feel about them. If they let us live, we will not strike first. A preacher was here once, when I was but a teen. Her eyes get a bit more cloudy. I see that one could take the tablets and grow upon them. But the Wright burns the freedom of others, and their followers build their gray, dead temples from the skulls of those who didn't listen. We request trust, no slavery. I'm not going to ask them about this. I don't see any reason to, and I feel like our character knows plenty about druids. Let's change the topic. Two of the druids whisper to themselves in the old speech, making sure you can't understand them. Am I looking for a healer? Do I need a healer? She raises her head a bit and observes you in silence. You will not find them here. My soul has its limits. I need to be there when an elder falls down the stairs, when a child gets a fever, when a lumberjack cuts off their arm. We do not need your dragon bones, and I will not put a stranger above my neighbors. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I didn't actually need a healer. I mean, aside from, the thing that we were already talking about. I tell some workers to gather at the gate. It's time to get them to the rock slide. You approach a few guards and ask them to help you with the diggers. The mayor's orders are already well known in the village. Your companions-to-be are healthy, well-fed, and in most cases young. Their chattering is filled with excitement. The younger ones are eager to mention they've never been so far away from the walls. The older expedition members are going more to lead and advise. They listen to the instructions carefully and are the first to take spears from the guards. And it doesn't take long before you're ready to leave. So I ask the guards to open the gate. Let's get this done. The workers carry clubs, spears, and a simple wheelbarrow filled with food rations, water skins, and tools. While one spade and one pickaxe are made of precious iron, other ones were made either from wooden planks, in the case of the former, or deer antlers. Still being in the forest, your companions share memories about their time spent among the familiar trees. Some were helping the hunters carry a large saurian back to the village. Others escorted the druids on their search for rare herbs. But as you get closer to the hills, your companions lower their voices. One of the guards tells stories about the local goblin packs, without hiding any gory details. Her playful tone makes others look carefully around. I would rather try to keep people, people do need to be on their toes, but they don't need to be, extra stressed out. I want them to be focused and effective. I think I'm going to change the topic to something lighter. You interrupt her and describe what you saw last time you traveled through the hills. You mention some thoughts on getting rid of the larger rocks, and the workers are eager to join you, correcting your observations by sharing their own experiences. For some time, you talk about the weak tree growing above the path. Could be safer to get rid of it right away. The air warms up, and your companions once again start to comment curiously on what you pass on your way. And we move forward. The diggers put on their leather gloves and grab the tools. They don't need you to provide further directions. One of the older men, whose arms are covered with healed claw marks, assigns tasks and roles. The guards take place on both sides of the rock slide as well as above it. Finally, as the first sound of the pickaxe cuts through the sky, the overseer turns toward you. He stands silent for a moment, looking uncomfortable with the idea of ordering you around. I just got all my clothes and shit cleaned up, but so I want to be seen as a person who helps. My concern, in particular, I want to be seen by just the average people as a person who is helpful. I want it to be the case that when I show up at a village, there is a sense of relief. However, if I am helping people clear the road and something does come up, I worry that people might get injured more than if I had been staying on guard duty. and I worry that that might lead to bad outcomes as far as diplomacy with Theus goes. My job's to keep them safe. I'm gonna join the guards. You lead aggro to the nearest few clumps of grass, then begin your patrol. The hours pass with little excitement, so at least you have enough time to brush your palfrey. I try to ignore the sounds of the pickaxes and gather my thoughts. The hours pass. The workers are in decent moods, and as far as you can tell, the work goes well. It's time for a break. Everyone leaves their tools where they stand and sit on the flat boulders. They take out their food rations and start to talk about their plans for the evening. I'm going to stay vigilant. I want to be friendly with people, but I also want it to be known that when I am given a task, I am on it. I'm going to keep on the lookout. You stretch out your arms and back, then go for a short walk. An ibex with long dark horns and thick brown fur climbs up the rock face, not far away from here. It's leaning against the rocks that seem too small to carry it, yet remains confident and quick. For a moment, it gives you a silent look, not aware that, unlike most predators, humans know very well how to cause harm to distant targets. It jumps on tiny shelves and reaches the top of the wall, where it gracefully walks away. It is so wild to watch goats and goat-like creatures just kind of walk up a rock wall. I will never get over how on many occasions I've just looked that up on YouTube, just watch goats climb. There's something about it that's very peaceful to me. I don't know. Maybe that's weird. Saying it out loud, it seems kind of weird. You approach aggro, which nickers at you, happy to take a long rest in such peaceful surroundings. It bows its head and you scratch the bottom of its neck firmly. The overseer clears his throat, stands up, and addresses you. So far, no corpse. He rubs his scars with a grunt. But there was a boot, eh? Maybe the leg walked away on its own? Better grab your axe. We'll strike as soon as we see it, awoken or not. You ready? Yeah, you know what? Time to use those spears you brought. Tell your people to form a circle around 2 or 3 diggers. Let's be very safe about this. He nods. Aye, let's stay patient. We have all the numbers we need. Right now. He gestures for everyone to stand up and gather around him, then points at 5 people, calling them by their names. You stay on guard. The rest, you dig. Don't move more than 1 rock at once. Anyone hears anything or sees a bone, stop whatever you're doing and shout. We do not need adventurers. We do not need nay adventurers. Half of the workers grab the spears and form a semicircle around the diggers. The others move slowly, breaking, pushing, and carrying away at the rocks. The tension is palpable, and there are not enough hands to get through the rubble quickly. This is a slower way to do it, but it's a safer way to do it, and again, I have been charged very specifically with the safety of these people. I stay close, ready to strike. Time passes slowly until one of the workers calls for help, and you hear a couple huge rocks fall to the ground. The workers run, and in one case crawl, away from the moving human bones. There's no soul between you and it, and the panicked workers stupefy you with their screams. You pull out your axe. Okay, I don't think our character is a dash forward and strike it down. We are a watching and learning sort of algorithm. You stand with raised weapon, observing the moving creature. Its whitish skull is cracked, and the thin arms, held together only by pneuma, are reaching out toward you. It doesn't utter as much as a shout, and its empty eye sockets are like an abyss. The crowd observes the creature, at first with frightened gasps, then in silence. After a couple of heartbeats, the overseer points at the corpse. The bloody bonehead has no legs! The shock loses its grasp. One of the guards pokes the undead with a spear, and before it manages to catch the weapon, it gets hit once, twice, and many more times until it stops moving. The loose bones scatter around. The first chuckle is followed by bursts of laughter. An older digger looks at you with a smile. Scary, eh? I almost ran away. I'm not willing to rest yet. Maybe I will become known as overcautious here, but I think being very cautious is worthwhile. I push people away and approach the corpse. The undead didn't even have its hips, It was lucky to sit in an upward position. Was this wretch buried by the tree, or did it get trapped after it died here? Wonders one of the guards, and a digger responds by spitting on the ground. Let's hope no one was stupid enough to burn their dead. The hesitant workers try to stay away from the bones, but then the overseer kicks the skull away, sparking another wave of laughter. He cups his head around his mouth. Now, there may be another one here, and its legs may still be kicking. Grab your tools. We do not have more than an hour ahead of us. He turns toward you and nods politely. You know how to get rid of a corpse on the road. What do we do? Well, the dead deserve dignity. We need to burn it. He sighs. Aye, hard to argue with that. Take 5 souls with you. He rubs his hands together, then raises his voice and starts to assign new tasks. Cutting down branches with simple stone axes takes quite a bit of time. You take your tinderbox and gather at an old dry bough standing in the middle of a meadow and cover it with broken twigs and bones. After a moment of silence, you step away from the burning remains. Without a word, your companions observe the unusual pyre for another minute. And I move back to the entrance. At least there are no other undead in sight. As the end of the digger's work gets closer, they grow tired and annoyed, which starts a few squabbles. The overseer has none of it, forcing them to focus, and it doesn't take long before the pass is cleared. In silence, the workers remove their gloves, clean their chests with water, and gather the tools. And I prepare aggro for the rest of the journey. A group of harpies follows your steps, but after half an hour they give up on you, seeing that you remain in large numbers. Your return trip is safe and the workers cheer up quickly. I keep an eye on the surroundings, just in case. Again, very, very careful. Your loud expedition gets noticed long before you reach the gates, and the villagers gather by the open gate. The parents welcome their children, the siblings and friends mock the presumed cowardice of their equals, and the kids ask for stories. For many of the members of your group, it was the first time they truly left their homes. And since no soul approaches me, I ride through the empty village and lead Agro to the stables. As you're crossing the first bridge, a guard greets you with a smile. Our mayor will wait for you in the usual spot. She's glad to see that you're safe. You lead your mount to the haystack, and as you loosen up the saddle, yet another person shows up behind you. This time, it's the man with the large club whom you previously met on your path to the priests, though this time he's wearing sandals. You're summoned by Elpis, the speaker of the forest, he states solemnly, and you should see her right away. Yeah, okay, I'll be there right away. He nods. We'll see, traveler. We'll see. He turns away and heads south. Finally alone, you're left standing near the main square. Okay, well, I am going to go speak to I'm going to do the thing I said. At your return, she shifts her staff and looks around briefly, making sure the other druids gather around. I was asked to speak with you about the rock slide? She looks at the nearby workers. Even though they are engaged in their own tasks, she lowers her voice. And 'tis a good thing you came here first. She spares you a polite nod. The hamlet should stay as it is. Howler's Dell needs nae growth. Her shoulders relax, as if there's nothing more to add. Alright, we're going to get caught up in a little bit of a political squabble here between the druids and the mayor, and I need some time to think about how I want to handle this. But also, it's just been a whole long episode already. I think this is where we're going to call it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this game as much as I am, and also I hope you're enjoying my narration, which I have some feelings about. But I know a lot of people have liked in the past when I did these games that are a lot of me reading, so I hope that is true here as well. When you come back next time, apparently we're getting involved in multiple layers of political intrigue now, and frankly, I have no idea how we're going to handle any of it. Come back next time to find out, and we'll see you then.